Hello and welcome back to another video. So in this video I'm basically going to take you through my journey to becoming a full stack developer, right? So I'm telling you all this as my personal experience, my personal encounter with being a full stack developer, a journey to being a full stack developer. It can be different for each of us, and honestly there is no single road to reach there, right? But listen to it like a story, not like an guide to become a full stack engineer, right? For now, listen it only for entertainment purposes only. Cool. So basically, the story starts back in 2020 when I cracked my first job opportunity through campus placement at Zorient Solutions. Zorient Solutions basically hired me for the role of associate software engineer, which is kind of equivalent to being a junior software developer, right? So they offered me an internship and after post internship a full time role, right? So by the time I got an offer letter to the time when I joined Zorient actually working there, I had around a year in hand, right? Since I was in my third year, the job actually started when I finished my college. So between that 1 year, I thought about making the most of it, right? And I was at such an age where I was very fascinated by money. I still am, of course. So I wanted to make the most of my time. Plus, it was during Corona, so I had a bunch of time on my hands. So my personally serious coding journey started when I joined a programming class right around my college campus, right? So there was a guy who used to teach Java, and he was very passionate, very great guy. If you're someone who is living near Nare, near Siagarh, near Pune, so I would really suggest you to go check that out. The name of the class is Code to Web, and yeah, you might be easily able to find it if you're someone from Siagarh, JSPF, or nearby outskirts, right? So anyway, the guy was super passionate. He is still my kind of mentor. He is very smart person. He knows how to make the most of his situation. He also has a great good story about himself, but that is not a scope of video. So that was the guy who hooked me to coding, who brought me into a position where I actually started taking my skills seriously. I wouldn't say that I'm smart or I was smart. I would say that I just try really hard, right? I am pretty average in all of my skills, and I'm not saying that just to debunk the concept of talent existing. There is, I truly believe that people do have talent. I truly believe that there's a difference in grasping power between each of us, and I truly believe everybody has their strengths and weaknesses, right? For my case, my strength was that I was a workaholic. I loved working, I loved coding, so I kept at it until I became decent. I would say that I'm good yet. I would say that I'm decent. I know how to get things done. I would say that I'm someone who you would call a jugadu, right? Who knows how to get stuff done, right? Anyway, and honestly, I really suggest people, if who are resonating with what I'm saying right now, the people who feel that they know how to get stuff done, right? They might not know how to do it the right way. They might not know how to do it in the best possible way, right? But they know how to get shit done, right? So that type of people are generally termed as resourceful, right? So this was one term that a previous co-founder that I worked under taught me, right? So he told me that we don't need to hire smart people, we don't need to hire fast people, we don't need to hire any other quality, right? We only need to hire people who are resourceful, the people who don't need hand holding, people who can get the job done even if they were the only one on the team, right? So I felt that that was really one quality that has brought me to the point that I am right now. It is it is a okay point. Yeah, I'm happy with where I am right now, career wise. So anyway, going back to 2020, so I had 1 year in my hand, and in that 1 year, I wanted to make the most of it. So the guy I told you about, the person who taught me how to code, he decided to spin up a startup of his own, right? So he used to run classes, which you can consider as a startup, and it used to create a good amount of cash flow already. But he wanted to make a dent in the market. He wanted to feel the feeling of building something that people actually use. It wasn't like he really needed the money, but it was more about, I would say, quenching his thirst for building stuff, quenching his thirst for starting a business and the hustle that comes with it, right? It is an adventure. So he started up that a startup called Buy and Kept Solution. I jumped right into that ship, and the reason was that honestly they were the ones who reached out to me. So let me take you a little bit back as well. So in that 1 year, in the first 2 to 3 months of Corona, basically I started an Instagram page where I used to showcase my graphic design skills. So I used to take pictures of people, real life pictures, and I used to cartoonize them using tools like Figma, Inkscape, and Adobe Illustrator and stuff like that. And people used to feel that it was a very fun thing to do, right? So once I started posting stuff on Insta, it started going into people's feed. People started putting stuff in my stories. Initially, it was just my friends, and then people who knew my friends, they started reaching out to me, giving me their photos, and they wanted a cartoon version of that. So I started basically charging money for that, because since I have a skill, why not make some money out of it? As I told you, I was really fascinated by money at that time. I still am. So I used to do like 200, 300 rupees per picture, per cartoon, I would say, and per person in a cartoon, whatever. So that was one thing which slowly started to grow my initial journey into this type of business, right? So it was kind of a freelance work. So then the people at people at Buy and Caps, they checked me out. They were looking for a UI UX designer, and they felt that they don't have enough budget to hire UI UX designer. So why not hire a graphic designer, an up and coming graphic designer, and make him do the work of UI UX? And I was anyway looking for experience, so I joined them as soon as they gave me an offer. I joined Buy and Caps. I worked there for, I guess, 7-8 months. I don't remember, right? Yeah, I started out as a UI UX designer. Then I asked them to give me some coding work. So then they moved me to a little bit of front end work, then a little bit of back end work. Right, but yeah, most of the work was regarding front end. So there I started learning regarding tech such as React. I started working with BM models. I started working heavily with Figma, right? So I designed pamphlets for them. I designed the first logo of Bandcaps, right? The first logo which they still use, right? So I wouldn't say that I was half bad at my skill as a designer, as well as that was a place where I actually got good hands on making websites. So then, as you see, the first place so it all started by me making random cartoons of my friends, to get to making it for other people, to a company noticing it and hiring me for designing stuff. From designing, I switched into front end development since it was close enough, and there I got my first experience of professional coding, and that is React. Now, after 8 months working at Buy and Caps and building websites and stuff for them, I had to leave Buy and Caps because my internship at Zorient was about to start, right? So I left Buy and Caps and joined Zorient. So as soon as I joined Zorient was not looking for front-end engineers, right, at the time. Zorient was looking for pure Java backend developers. So as soon as I joined, they put me on a finance project and gave me basic training on stuff like Java, Spring Boot and stuff. I wouldn't say the training really helped. It was some basic shit. But yeah, anyway, I was pretty good at Java already, as I told you, right? So I was good at Java. I was not good at Spring Boot. I had never worked with Spring Boot. So that is when I spent some time learning Spring Boot, basics of Spring Boot, building REST APIs, database, access objects, and DAOs and stuff, right? So that's where I got my basic core of Spring Boot and Spring. And I spent around a year and a half at Zorient, right? And in the first half, I worked on one project which was which was a big forex settlement project, and they gave me work of building. Initially, they assigned me building REST APIs. Then they assigned me into writing JUnit test cases. Then they assigned me some stuff regarding a lot of bunch of stuff, right? In between, there was another project that needed help inside Zorient itself, an internal project. So the product owner of that project, he found that I was a very interesting guy. He started talking to me, and then he asked me whether I can spend some time here as well on that project as well. So I was up for everything, so I put my hands down there. So in the morning time, so the other project that I started working on was really a front end project, which was built in Angular, which was so I created a video recording component for them, right? So that video recording component later time, after I left Zorient, by the way, I made that basically a similar video recording component, but a better version of it, and open sourced it on my GitHub. It really didn't, I would say, pick up or got famous or anything, but I know a few people who personally used it, a few companies who personally used it in their project, and they basically reached out to me for the same. I helped people on Stack Overflow and Reddit and stuff with the same component, right? So it was something that was useful to people. So anyway, so basically at Buy and Caps, I got experience in React. Then at Zorient, in the first half of my tenure at Zorient, I got experience in stuff like Spring Boot, basics of Spring Boot and Java. Then in the second half of my tenure at Zorient, I was still working on the previous technologies, but with that I started working on stuff like Angular and other I basically Angular components, Angular websites, single page applications. Cool. So then in the last few months, I guess 3 to 4 months, they switched me back to React, right? So I already had experience with React, so I did work with React, I did work with Redux. That is when I learned how to build my first npm library. So I made an npm library for Zorient. I made it public, and I believe right now around 1,000 people use it. 1,000 to 2,000. It has 1,000 to 2,000 downloads, which is not a lot, but the people who really use it are the people in Zorient itself. So it is okay. It makes sense, right? So then basically when I was working at Zorient, I decided that I wanted to do something else, right? I had a dream when I was in 11th and 12th. I studied rigorously for JW Mace and had dreams of IIT, NIT, Triple IT, all those privileged colleges, right? Plus, another thing was I really felt, and I still feel that it was a good decision, that uh, I needed, if I went to a college for 2 years, I would get so much time to actually increase my skill set by a long shot, right? And the reason being, when I started working in professionally, I started to see the gap between who I was and who the people who were smarter than me had become, right? So there was a friend of mine, we used to hang out together, and the only difference was that we used to hang out together for fun things, right? I would say never observed what he did when when he went home, basically, right? So when he went home, he started doing lead code rigorously. He started studying for competitive jobs while I was goofing around, right? I was enjoying my life, which is not a bad thing to do. I don't regret it, right? But I guess if I had put in a little bit work beforehand, a lot of my hard work that comes at a later point of time would have been reduced anyway. So when I was at Zorit, I was really plotting up a plan to pursue my masters at a privileged college, so that I get 2 years to turn my life around, 2 years to take my skill set to a different level, and 2 years to really push my compensation to different horizons, right? So I wanted to, as I say, cure my poverty in a way. You can see that most of the things that I did were really money motivated, which still are, but they are also motivated by the fact that I wanted to improve the level of life I'm living, right? Including for me and my family and my loved ones and everyone else. So that's that. Then, so in the morning, right before I went to my job, I used to spend 2 hours daily from 6 a.m. or 5 a.m. I used to wake up, get ready, and start studying. So every day I used to spend at least 2 to 3 hours for preparing for my gate examination. Then the dreaded day of the gate examination came. I think I performed okayish, right? When the results came, I was in the top 8,000 around the world, around India, and by God's grace, I cracked Triple IT Gwalior in the last spot round, or second last spot round, if I remember right, of GATE, right? So there I went for my MTech, pursued computer networks, and during my tenure at MTech, I think I did make a lot of growth in my technical skill set, right? So I rigorously did lead code, I rigorously did DSA, I spent time in development. So I think I pushed myself a lot in the directions of system design. I pushed myself a lot in direction of Node.js, direction of JavaScript, a little bit in Spring Boot as well, microservices, all those stuff, right? So I really feel that, plus my degree, computer networks. Honestly, computer networks I feel is the most closest branch you can find to system design. By the end of my 2 years, I was pretty good at system design. I was pretty good at DSA. I wouldn't say that I was like a guardian or a knight on lead code, but I was decent. Right? So, and then in 2024, I think I went out for my MTech, right? My MTech was about to end, and the campus placement rounds were going on, and yeah, they were tough, man. They were tough. It was a recession, and the number of jobs coming to campuses, number of jobs in the market, they were really bad, man. I remember seeing somewhere that around 50% of job posts had gone away from the market. There were continuous layoffs left and right. Google had hiring freeze, Microsoft had hiring freeze. Yeah, it was a scary time. It is still a scary time, right? So basically, I found myself an internship at a startup called Hush, and at Hush I got to learn a lot of things, man. A lot of things. So from the day I joined Hush, I feel in the first 2 months I became a DRI. So DRI means a product owner. So I was an end-to-end product owner of a Chrome extension. So I built the product in 3, maybe 4 months. Complete product. The product was good to go in the market. I remember I published it publicly by mistake, and in that and in the first 24 hours it gained it had like 30 or 35 users, and then I found out that, oh shit, I had published it by mistake. So I took it down, I archived it, and yeah, the rest is history. So yeah, I worked with a wide variety of team. A lot of people working at Hush were like IITians, NITians, a bunch of smart people. The co-founder himself was like, he was a past director of Google, Microsoft, Splunk. So he was genius. It had a crazy board of advisors. They had like vice presidents of big company names. I wouldn't take the names, but they were big. They were real big people, right? I got to learn a lot of stuff there, right? But being a startup, I felt that it wasn't really a cultural fit for me. I love the people, I love the work, but I still felt that I deserve something more, right? So I went out in the market, started giving interviews and stuff. By the way, when I was at Zorient, I learned the different techs such as Chrome extension. I worked heavily on Node.js, so I haven't worked with Node.js on professionally before in my life. So I worked with Node.js a lot. I worked with Supabase, so Supabase had really changed my life around, turned my life around, right? So due to Supabase, I got good understanding of Postgres itself. Again, being a product owner at Hush, I was heavily into system design, so I learned building databases, building structures, building system architectures, how to make stuff happen, how to bring MVPs to life, and a little bit of management, little bit of people management and stuff. So it was a bunch of all great good stuff, bit of marketing and everything, right? So it really, I would say, nourished the entrepreneur in me. So I would say at least I'm 1% entrepreneur after I have left Hush. I used the similar skill set there when I moved to my next organization. So my current organization, uh, I basically work with tech that includes Spring Boot. On the front end, we heavily use Next.js, right? So yeah, in similar fashion, we use the same with Hush as well. So Hush also introduced me to Next.js. So we work with Next.js, Juicestand. On the back end, we use technologies such as Spring Boot. We use, of course, since we use Spring Boot, there's Java involved. We use at the current organization, they really pushed me in the direction of DevOps. So I got good understanding of Docker. I got good understanding of Kubernetes. So that was also good. I started working a lot with AWS here at Hush. I had experience with GCP, so that was the tech stack that we used there. Here as well, we use Supabase, which I think it is very common practice nowadays. So Supabase is good. I What else? Yeah, I guess these are the stuff. There are a few other things that I got exposure to. Now I have exposure to tech like Helm. I have exposure to a little bit exposure to Kubernetes. I have some exposure, not really. Actually, I have good exposure now to Liquibase. So Liquibase is basically a source control for your databases. So yeah, basically that is how my journey for being a full stack developer had been. I started out as a graphic designer, and today, I guess after 3 or 4 years, maybe something like that, I am working as a full stack developer, and I think my first full stack gig, I believe, was Hush itself. So I became a full stack developer in 2024, year back, I guess. So I don't know if this was fun for you. I don't know if this was entertaining for you, but whatever, man, whatever it was. If you have made it up till here, why not just give it a like, subscribe down below. I need one more subscriber to reach my 10 subscriber mark. So you can do it, man. It's free. What does it cost you? Like, subscribe, share, do whatever you want. Dislike, man, I don't even care. I'm doing this because I want to, and I want money in the future. So please, bye.